Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Diane and my passion is painting and creating nature-inspired watercolours in my studio, which are easy for you to do too. I share all my paintings with you on YouTube, and on our website dianeantone.com you can find free downloadable sketches for all the videos to help you make the most of your painting journey. And if you'd like a little bit more, we also have channel memberships with loads of perks for you to enjoy. So welcome on board. Click subscribe and turn on notifications, and let's learn to paint watercolour. Hi everybody, welcome to my studio. Diane here, I hope you're all well. I'm going to paint some flowers today. I've spent all morning practicing and it's been absolutely teeming down with rain, and we've got a lull right now, and I'm going to hope and pray that it doesn't pour like ballyheck while I'm doing this, but if it does, please forgive us for the noises outside. Now these are my practice paintings from this morning, and I'm going to do something like this for you. I've been trying out different kinds of paper actually, and I've tried out several different types of paper, and I have found that this is the Etcher sketchbook, which they kindly sent me some time ago, and it's really quite nice, and I'm going to use a page of that because it seems as if it makes everything seem somewhat softer. A close second runner-up to that effect is my VIVIVA sketchbook, which is strange, isn't it, really, when you consider how much money we spend on sheets of paper, which is supposed to be super wonderful, you know, arches and all that stuff. And it turns out that actually all we need is a cheap sketchbook. Well, there we go. Now, it's a new year and we're going to have a new palette. This is going to be my flower painting palette for 2022, and I've just swatched out the colours that I've chosen here. These are the tubes, and a nice motley crew that is, isn't it? But anyway, so I've squeezed out a little bit of each one of those onto this palette, which is one of those flower shaped ones where you're supposed to mix in the middle, but I'm not sure that I'll do that. So I've got here the colours I'm going to use, which are transparent yellow. This is a Winsor & Newton one. You could use Aureolin as well instead of transparent yellow. This is quinacridone gold, that one there. This is a Schminke one. They do vary a bit, quinacridone golds, but anyone will do. This is sap green here. This one's an Old Holland. Again, I've written down the make that I'm using, but that's not that important. They vary a bit, but you're going to mix them all together in any case, so it doesn't really matter. The only reason why people stick rigidly to a particular colour by a particular brand is if they do the kind of painting where they're painting straight from the tube and they don't mix colours. So for example, if you're doing that Japanese cartoon type painting and you want a specific colour for every frame of your painting, you know, you're doing the same coat on the same person in multiple situations, then you want to be able to reproduce colour exactly. But that is completely irrelevant to us. We've got olive green here. This is a Daler Rowney one. This is indigo. This colour here, which is a light grey, this is black. Then we've got Winsor blue or phthalo blue, either would do. Cobalt blue, which is my favourite. I actually prefer it to ultramarine for flowers, and the reason is it doesn't granulate as much. You can use ultramarine, of course, but you'll get more granulation in your mixes. Over here we've got alizarin crimson. This is a Daler Rowney one again, permanent rose. Daler Rowney one could be anything, and you could use opera, you could use quinacridone rose, or any one of those bluish pinks. And then we've got Winsor violet, so it could again be anything that's a kind of purplish shade. And a brown. The only brown I've got here is Venetian red, which is a burnt red kind of colour, which mixes well to give lots of different greys. Indigo and black. So there we are, I've got that there. And I'm going to use, I've got this little dinky little palette here. It's a, what do you call it, ceramic, and it's got all these little wells. It's got 12 of them. And if you pre-prepare a grey, because you're going to paint some leaves in a grey, for example, or a green or whatever, you can make little pools of it in there. You can mix it on here first and then pop it into there. So that could work quite well too. I think this came from Well, I know it came from Germany, but I think it's available online. I'll look it up and see if I can find it. It's quite rinky-dinky. So there we go. So those are the colours we're going to use. There's another one of my tryouts this morning. We'll pop this over here. And so let's get started. 4 minutes 46. But you know what? What the heck? If you're still there, then you're going to watch me paint, aren't you? I'm not going to do a sketch for this one, but there will be a sketch of what I do available for you on the website at dianeantone.com if you want to sketch it out first. But it started to rain again. Can you hear that? All the chickens are running for cover. Oh, a friend of mine offered us a cockerel today. Yes, so I think we'll probably take her up on the offer because our hens have stopped laying, so we need to replenish our flock. Now, a quick word about brushes. These 5 brushes here are probably the ones I find personally most useful for painting flowers and leaves. This is a Isabey or similar Petit Gris, which is a squirrel brush with a nice point, fairly full body, so it holds a fair amount of water. Will give you a big free stroke and is fairly controllable too, actually, so we'll probably use that for some of the flowers. This is a filbert, a flat rounded end brush there, and that's also interesting for making petal shapes. This one is by Pro Art and it's a size 6. This and this are both synthetic rounds. These ones are by DRAWELL. It's a Japanese company that I use, but any round brush would do as long as it has a nice point. These start off very nicely pointed when they're new. They do all of them wear, and sometimes, you know, it's quite nice to have one that is worn because you get a different type of stroke. And finally, the rigger. This is a ZEN ART rigger. The writing is almost completely worn off on that. So I don't know, I think it's a size 2. It's a long-haired, slightly longer than the average round, and very pointed, gives you good straight, fine lines. So those are the 5 brushes that I tend to use if I'm doing a painting of this kind of size of flowers, or in fact, indeed, of anything. So mixing up the colour in the first place, I probably would use a small round like this one. Okay, so I've taken the washi tape off the edges of my paper because it was a little bit distracting. And now I'm just going to mix. I'm going to use this big flat brush, and I'm just going to mix up a mixture of Alizarin Crimson and Permanent Rose, something like that. And I'm going to go ahead and just paint a typical traditional rose. Like this. I'm going to try and make this nice and bright and cheerful because I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed by the weather at the moment. It's not nice. You don't deserve this. Anyway, so now I'm going to add a little bit of quinacridone gold to that pink, and that's going to make it a little bit more, a slightly different colour, let's say. It doesn't matter what it is really. And I'm going to do another rosy rose red thing up here. I'm using a lot of water. That's another one. And I'm sorry if the light's bad. I know it is, and I am very sorry. There's nothing I can do about it. There's absolutely no natural light, so I've got the studio lights on. And I know that this is not going to be the best video you've ever seen, and I'm sorry about that. It's either this or nothing. because I can't even see what I'm doing myself. So there's a yellow rose, and I'm going to deliberately let that run. And then we'll have another one down here. Also, I know that the angle of the camera isn't quite right either, because I've had to tilt it, because otherwise the shadow on half of the screen makes it unwatchable. So we'll see how this goes, and if you never get to see it except as perhaps a private view, that would be why. But I hope we can get away with it. I'll make this one a bit bigger. Yeah. Okay, so there's 4 roses. Don't normally do even numbers, normally do uneven numbers, odd numbers. So I'll probably pick up some more yellowy colours, and I'll put another one, a smaller one, on here. Okay, now the next thing is the greens. So I had pre-mixed a few greenish things in here in this little debris, and I'm going to try to draw a thin line and then some biggish leaves. Hello, Arthur. That was Arthur. Got to sit down. It's quite nice to have a selection of greens pre-mixed like this, because then you can just pick them up and randomly drop them in, rather than having to keep on stopping and mixing more colours. Oh my gosh, this weather. I'm going to put some I'm just going to use the rigger to do my next straight line here, because it's easier. And then I want another one here, I think. And then maybe another one up here. Okay, so we'll pick up some more green. We need a lot more than that. I can't help feeling there's not much point in me talking. You probably won't be able to hear what I'm saying. Now, the thing is, when you paint in watercolour, the paint will dry lighter than it looks when it's wet. Okay, so you have to wait for it to dry, and then almost inevitably you're going to have to come in with a second layer. Almost inevitably. In fact, I think it is actually inevitable. Otherwise, everything's going to look washed out. But it does need to be dry first. Going to put some little spindly stalks there, and then some violet, I think, perhaps light violet, maybe, or it could be blue, something like that. We'll just do some things. And just keep growing the painting. You can put as many features in as you want. If you add more colour while it's wet, while it's very wet, you get really nice effect of wet in wet like that. If you wait till it's a bit drier, it's not a good idea because you sometimes get lots of ugly backgrounds. But yeah, phthalo blue or Winsor blue plus a little bit of Winsor violet gives a nice, very pretty, I think, lilac colour, bluey lilac, bluey, I don't know what you'd call that, but it's much nicer than phthalo blue on its own. That's it. You can add a little bit of red to it as well. Add some green to it, and then we could put some veins into these leaves like this. Let that dry too. Then I'm going to come back to the roses and do the second layer. Sorry, I'm always worried that the rain's going to start coming through the ceiling. Let's do another sprig of this lilac thing down here. And then a little bit more dark dropped in. A little bit of orange there to make that one a bit stronger. And I think once I've done these few leaves up here, one more perhaps. putting in the darks to emphasize things. And now we're going to have to let it dry. So that's the final painting. After it had dried, I came back in and I added a few more shadowy areas to give the whole thing a little bit more three-dimensionality. I apologise for the strangeness of the sound throughout, which was due to the noise in the background having to be removed, which has left us with a slightly surreal sort of audio track. So apologies for that. Thank you for your forbearance, and I'll see you again soon. And meanwhile, a little taste of what it sounded like here while I was trying to record this video yesterday. So bye for now, everybody, and have fun, keep dry. But it does need to be dry first. If you add more colour while it's wet, while it's very wet, you get really nice effect of wet in wet like that. And now we're going to have to let it dry.